नमस्कार।
जगत जी, गुरु जी को प्रणाम।
हाँ, नमस्ते नमस्ते। नाइस।
आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत। I would like to welcome you all on behalf of Independent Research Ethics Society, AYUSH Samriddhi International Webinar Series at the milestone of 2527. Thank you very much for joining. I would like to welcome Dr. Sakat Kumar Basu, Executive Research Director, Performance Lead, Little Bridge, Alberta, Canada and West Bengal. Welcome, Dr. Sakat. Today, Dr. Andy Sharma ji is, I hope, in some trouble. So,
Okay. No problem.
I would like to request Dr. Sakat Kumar Basu ji to guide us to safe beach.
Thank you. Sure. It is my pleasure. Thank you very much, Sharmaji. It is my honor to be on this platform. Bee conservation is my major research work area. So thank you for offering me this opportunity to be on this platform. I was previously a bit busy with a accidental office meeting that came in, so I was unable to join in the zoonotic ones. So that's why I send you the video. But this one, I will definitely participate, and I'm physically available. So my heartiest welcome to all the audience members and the participants. Now, bee conservation and saving the bees, why it has become so important? It has become very important around the world as we are observing that there has been an extensive loss of bees in the recent time. For the last 10, 15, 20 years, I was just having a discussion with my office in Canada just a few minutes back, where there has been a report of in US where they have lost always around $40 million on bees and stuff, is because we are finding that bees are dying in huge numbers. And this is showing significantly in industrial countries. In industrial countries, by which I mean first world countries such as US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, European Union, Japan, wherever there is industrial scale agriculture, we are finding that heavy rate of bee deaths, and they are dying in massive numbers. There are various reasons for this. It, it has been a general observation around the world that because of extensive use of pesticides, particularly in case of agriculture, and also, our expansion of industries and atmospheric pollution, climate change, all these factors have been contributing towards death of bees. Why? It is because in these countries, what happens is they have huge hectares, like sometimes 20, 30, 40, 50, even 60,000 acre or hectares of farmland. And these huge farms are not possible to operate through humans. These are extensively operated by machines. So pesticide application, seeding, harvesting, everything is extensively done by gigantic machine system, smart intelligent agriculture where drones and satellite imageries and everything is being used. It sounds very good with respect to the technology, but it has a downside. The downside is that it is important to spray pesticides on the crops to reduce loss from various pest insects and other bacteria, virus, fungi that impacts the growth of the crops and causes infection. Now, how is this controlled in the Western countries is that in mostly they spray the pesticides through aircraft. Whether it's a powder form or whether it's in the droplet form, small aircrafts, one-seater, two-seater aircrafts are actually used running north or south or east or west across these huge, gigantic agricultural fields doing monocrop, either growing potato or growing wheat or growing uh, in canola, which is mustard, or any other crop, lupin, anything, various kinds of legumes, everything that they grow, it is done in a massive industrial range. Now, when is this spraying done? The sprayings are usually done during on those days when it is bright and sunny, the wind speed is low, and the temperature is a little bit warmer. This is why, because then these are the days where the plants will open their stomata, and as the plants open these pores, when these chemicals or powders are dropped, a fraction of them are able to be absorbed by the plant, go inside the plants, and the plants are empowered by these chemicals, and then harmful insects, when they attack the plants, they will die out. So there are specific chemicals which are used for killing weeds called weedicides, for killing other insects that are called pesticides, for killing algae they are called algicides, bactericides, fungicides, different kinds for killing various different kinds of pathogenic organisms. Just like we use antibiotics and other medications in controlling diseases for in case of modern treatment, same for plants, various chemicals are used. But what happens is that farmers, because of the insecurity of crop loss, they are using these chemicals at an extensive amount, way beyond the threshold level. This is resulting in two things. One, it is causing resistance among the harmful insects that are responsible for crop damage. Many of them are dying, but some of them are becoming resistant. And when they are reproducing, they are able to withstand that chemical and that particular dosage. And after a few years, that chemical that is being applied is no longer effective. It is being replaced or its dosage is increased. This has been happening for quite some time. And whether developing or underdeveloped country, this extensive use of pesticides have been causing a lot of damage. Together with the application of synthetic chemical fertilizers for agricultural production, way more fertilizers are applied on the soil than actually it is needed. As a consequences, due to during rain and washed by irrigation water, these are dumped into the nearby freshwater resources. Some of them percolated into the groundwater table and contaminate the groundwater freshwater resources. But at the same time, many wild bees which do not make hives, but actually they make their nest under in the soil. The queen bee is living in the soil, and these huge chemicals are then washed and poured through, and they percolate through these holes, and they go and kill the queen bee. Now, because of the chemical attack, once the queen bee is dead, then the entire colony is at jeopardy, because this is the egg laying machine for the colony. The queen bee doesn't do anything other than producing huge number of eggs. And this is essential to maintain the sustainability of the colony. And also she secretes pheromones, which keeps the various members of the hive tagged. And this is the way they are able to identify one another. And once the queen bee is killed, then the whole colony gets disarrayed, and then the colony, the other of the members of the colony, they do not survive or do very good, and they cannot take refuge in other hives, is because bees are very strict. They have a chemical hormone that is sprayed from the queen bees across their bodies. So bees from one colony is not accepted by bees in the other colonies. If one bee does not reach its own hive, and if it is by accident reach some other hives, then the bees from the same species will never accept it, and they will kill them. And there are wars that happen between various beehives and stuff, but these are very deadly in the sense that it disrupts the intercolony. For commercial honeybee, the one that is Apis mellifera mellifica, or the European honeybees, Italian honeybees, Indian honeybees that we extensively use for producing honey, they can be replaced. If you have your colony dead, you can go and buy this colony and replace them. But about the wild bees, which make their nests in the hole, if they are killed, there is no way to replace them, as because we do not commercially grow them. So once a species is done, they are vanished and they go away from the ecosystem and they die in huge large numbers. So this is a very consistent process due to pesticide infestation and application of chemical fertilizers in extensive manner. They are causing great harm to the bees. The second part is when these droplets are being sprayed by the sprayer or being sprayed by the aircraft, these fine tiny droplets not only land upon the plants, they'll also land upon the pollinators, particularly the bees, is because they are also attracted to the field days when the wind speed is very low and the sunlight and the warm temperature is warmer, and it is conducive for them for to go and collect nectaries and pollen grains. But as they are moving into the field and they are doing the pesticide spraying in the morning, then these droplets land on the body of the bees. And if you have ever closely watched a housefly, you will see they have a habit of cleaning themselves. Continuously, they are cleaning their wings, their antenna, their head, their body parts. So if a chemical has landed on the outer body surface, because of this cleaning habit, the bees ingest them, and because it is a poison, particularly the neonicotinoids type of pesticides that are being used has been banned in many countries now, is causing huge number of bees death. In addition to this, it is impacting into their navigation process. You will see that bees have a specific way of communicating with one another. The communication of bees is done through a kind of a dancing, which was discovered long time back by a German scientist called Karl von Frisch. And Frisch discovered that the bees communicate one with one another through particular dancing with respect to having sun's axis as a perpendicular. Through these dance, which is called bee dance, they are capable of communicating with other members of the hive or with other bees in informing them how far is the flower bed, how much they have to travel, what is the amount of floral communities that they have, whether these are of their interest and things like that. And then they will fly to that place, they will collect nectar and pollen grains, come back and enrich their hive. But what is happening is, because of these chemicals are landing on these insects, it is impacting into their GPS, natural global positioning system. As a consequences, their nervous system is being impacted. So the bees going out of the hives are not being able sometimes to come back to their hives. In Western countries, when the temperature drops after 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and because of the sharp temperature, the bees which are outside has not been able to get back to their hives, are dying in huge numbers because they cannot withstand a colder temperature. The bees inside the hives will fan their wings and they can increase the temperature or decrease the temperature based on their need, based on their outside external temperature. Sometimes for processing the honey too, they need to increase the temperature for fermentation of the honey, and they do this by fanning their wings. So if they are unable to reach back to their hives because these chemicals are impacting their nervous system and they are not able to communicate with one another and navigate back to their hive, if they are reaching other hives, they will be killed. And outside temperature dropping, when it becomes too cold, bees could not survive. If you'll see that you won't be seeing bees during this monsoon period in India, same, because it is colder and at the same time it is wet. It is difficult for bees to fly around. So at this stage of point of time, you will see that they are not going to come out during the winter, particularly during the rainy season. Most of the commercial bee producers, what they do, they will feed our bees during the monsoon with sugar water. Sugar is cheap, so they will make sugar water. The bees will collect sugar. They will thrive upon them. In Western countries, they use the sugar water during the winter season when the bees do not go out of their warmed stations in which the bee boxes are kept. So this is the second factor. And the third is, from our environment, plants are vanishing at a very fast rate. And because bees are dependent on plants, they are suffering around the world from acute nutrition shortages. Why? Say, for example, there are two major types of bees. Some bees that we see, particularly the honey bees, are non-specialist. They will visit 15 to 50 different species of plants for collecting their nectaries, pollen grains, etc. But there are other bees which are very strict and specific. They only collect pollen and nectaries from one particular species of plant. So if by chance, because of environmental pollution or habitat degradation and other in climate change, forest fires, if that particular species of plant is not available, species of bees which are dependent on that particular plant, they will also vanish from our ecosystem because they have nothing to feed. So these are causing an extensive damage, and it has been found that, contrary to our belief, bees are more attracted to wheat plants, particularly if you're traveling in the railways. Sometimes if your train has got a signal, and if you look at the sides where there are bushes of wild plants that are growing, if you walk across them ever, although it's very dangerous because it's around the railway track, you will see the largest diversity of butterflies and the largest diversity of bees accumulating there, because these are the plants that they actually prefer for collecting nectaries other than agricultural crops. So sometimes many people ask me that I have a beautiful garden of rose, chrysanthemum, gerbera, dahlia, and all other beautiful amaranthus and all beautiful colored plants that I have settled, but there is not much bees and other butterflies visiting my garden. The reason for this is that most of these plants that are horticulturally generated, they are no longer dependent on pollination. They do not produce enough nectaries and pollen grains. So bees are not interested, in spite of their bright, beautiful color and shape, they are not very interested in coming to the synthetic gardens. They like going to the wild plants and they like going to agricultural crops that produce, that undergo flowering, whether it is teal, whether it is sesame, whether it is mustard, whether it is various kinds of vegetables. These are the plants that bees usually love visiting, particularly, all kinds of spice plants when they are in flowering. All of them and adding to that particular part. So under circumstances, we having 5 different factors in which they're vanishing in great numbers. Number one, as I mentioned, extensive application of pesticide fertilizers and other synthetic chemicals in our agricultural field. Extensive air pollution, where extensive amount of waste materials are generated in our ecosystem. Climate change, lack of proper nutrition, change in the land use patterns, and last but not the least, because of low immunity in bees, because of lack of nutrition, they are subjected to various diseases caused by different bacteria, virus, fungi. Now, one of the very predominant and dangerous disease of bees that has been now noted is the varroa mite. It is a mite that infests the bee colonies, and they transfer some viruses inside their system, and they suck up the juice of the bees from their body, and particularly the young larvae, and they're killing them in huge numbers. In US and other countries, they have found that amatrazine or other chemicals that have been extensively used for so many years in making the beehives free of varroa mite is no longer effective. There are chemical resistance varroa mites that are increasing, and in industrial countries as well as in India, there has been reports that there are varroa mites that are being seen on the bodies of the bees. This is dangerous for honeybees because they damage and wipe out the bee colonies in huge numbers. And as in US and other countries, they are reporting 40 to 50 million dollars worth of loss to their industry has been impacting them very, very significantly. Now, these are the factors that are impacting the population of bees. Now, how to protect them? Now, one of the important part of protecting them is what we are doing now. It is the education and awareness of the public. People need to know and understand that bees are an extremely important part of the ecosystem. Why? Because they support 3 different industries: apiculture, which is honey production; agriculture, which is crop production through the cross pollination process. Around 85% of all flowering plants across our planet are dependent on bees for their successful cross pollination, because for sexual reproduction in plants, they are dependent on either on air or water or biological agents like bees, butterfly, moths, beetles, ants, wasps, all hornets, all these kinds of insects, snails, slugs, various species of birds, mammals, all are taking part in some form of pollination. We are getting to know more and more new pollinators through our research now. But the most efficient and effective in cross pollination of pollen grains from one plant to another for the achieving for the purpose of sexual reproduction in plants, for our agriculture, for the sustenance of our ecosystem, are the bees. So we need to understand and appreciate. Albert Einstein mentioned long time back that when the bees will cease to exist, human civilizations will cease to exist. Because if you look into agricultural sector around the world, including India, even today, 70% of our population in India is dependent upon what you call it, on agriculture. So same is for the world. Millions and billions of people around the world are involved in agricultural industry directly or indirectly. So bees being responsible for the sustenance of the agricultural industry, if that industry gets disintegrated, then our economy and ecology cannot work side by side. Think about the huge forest plant, 20, 30 feet high. Many of them are pollinated by these bees. Unless these bees are present, then these plants would be threatened to survive, because there is no cross pollination that could be achieved at such a great height, because these are tall trees. But many of these forest trees are also pollinated at night by moths, as also efficiently by fruit-eating bats or non-carnivorous species of bats, which are extensively involved in the cross-pollination of plants. So all these things have happened over the time. Sharmaji, Sutpaji is trying to join. If you could kindly allow her to enter. Thank you. She just sent me a message. Thank you so much. So all these are resulting in what we call is an extensive coverage for the bees is necessary in their terms of their conservation is first education and awareness. Then we need to understand, and it is the responsibility of farmers to understand that application of pesticides, chemical fertilizers, and other agrochemicals are necessary for thriving our agricultural industry, but we are cutting the trees at the base. We are cutting the base of the tree on which we are holding on, because if there are no bees there will be no agriculture. So we need to limit the extensive use of pesticides and fertilizers and synthetic chemicals in our fields. We definitely need them, but our farmers around the world are over application is causing this extensive damage. Climate change is another important factor, which is not a one country's part. It is a multi-nation problem. Our global average temperature is increasing, which is it has been detected that it is impacting the life cycle of the bees, the health of the bees, the migration of the bees. All these are being impacted. The fourth is we are not having adequate information on bees. There is necessity to do extensive surveys on various populations of bees, even in our country. There has been no bee audit till date. It is important at the government level for the Zoological Survey of India and the Ministry of Environment and Forest, collaborating both with the state and central government and the union territories, to do a bee auditing, to understand and identify that how many species of bees that used to be present in India 50 years from now are now present here. Or how many have they become extinct? How many species we are losing? Because of this lack of auditing, we are not getting a realistic picture of the biodiversity of bee species across India. Think about Canada, which is a very cold country, and most of the year it is cold. In spite of the fact, it has around 750 species of bees, and among them around 30 to 40 are almost being pushed towards extinction. 97 to 99% of their population has crashed, but we do not have much information about how bees, particularly the wild bees, are doing across various ecological habitats and states in India. This information needs to be done. The third is the banning of extensively dangerous pesticides. For example, neonicotinoids is still being used in India and other countries. Although it has been banned in many other countries, there needs to be legislation. Even the United Nations needs to pass a resolution on very deadly chemicals that are used in agriculture, because this is becomes a global problem. Because of the use of neonicotinoid pesticides, they are causing extensive damage and death of bees around the world. So it needs to be evaluated from time to time, and those pesticides, fertilizers, etc., that are causing permanent long-term damage to the bees needs to be taken out of the shelf. They need to be completely terminated and replaced by other friendly chemicals that do not do such extensive damage to the bees. So these are the important part that we need to work. And the part that I have tried to develop is the bee conservation through establishment of pollinator sanctuaries. You know, from our very young days, we are all aware of kitchen gardens. Behind our house, in the lawns, and wherever there was an opportunity, our grandmothers, grandparents used to make kitchen gardens from the seeds of the vegetables that we used to consume every day. So some of the sag, some of the common vegetables that we use, like palwals or lady's finger, everything used to be grown, okra, everything used to grow in our backyard. What we are suggesting is we are also trying to provide various mixtures of wildflowers as well, native to that particular area, which is under bee conservation, along with a mixture of agricultural plants at specific locations, at specific altitude, according to the latitudes and longitudes. We need to figure out the combination and produce sanctuaries around agricultural fields. In Western countries, what they're trying to do is, say, for example, you have an agricultural field. Outside the perimeter of the agricultural field, they are establishing a 100-meter or a 200-meter sometimes long range of pesticide preventing. There are no pesticides, no chemical fertilizer applied. Bee sanctuaries are established, which are acting as a buffer zone between the real agricultural field, so that the bees, because they are having flowering plants growing throughout the season in these strips, they are coming there in large numbers, and they're trying to avoid the agricultural field to a certain extent, particularly during the spraying season, so that we can reduce the damage upon the bees. The establishment of pollinator sanctuaries, bee gardens, butterfly gardens around the world has been showing success in surviving and helping the bees to survive. And this has been extensively applied. I have been working extensively on this area in working towards preparing various seed mixes. Preparing combination of plants is not easy, because many plants do not cooperate with one another. If you go into a forest, you will see there are in overall maybe thousands of species, but in a one particular area of the forest, you will see only few species of plants are growing, because this is because plants like to have a gregarious colony of their own species or allied species, and do not allow plants from other families to grow. If you go into the Himalayas, you will see so many gymnosperm, pines, coat, deodars. These plants secrete chemicals into the soil that does not allow other plants to thrive and survive there at this particular temperature and range, and they have colonized this entire area. This is a habit of the plant. This is how the plant ecosystem works. So if you are to establish a bee sanctuary, we have to find specific combination of plants where one plant does not hinder the growth and development of the other plant. So this takes time. There is extensive field trials you have to do across various latitudes and longitude to see which plant combination works best in working with one another, which we are trying to also extend the bee foraging period. How we are trying to do this? By not having mixture of plants which grow at the same time and flower at the same time. So we are trying to extend the floral calendar by including species which flower at different rates. So say for example, some species will flower from January, end in February. Some will start from February, continue up to March. Some will start from March, go up to April, May. Some will start in May, go up to May, June, and there will be some overlapping. Now, why are we doing this? We are doing this so that throughout the year there are flowering species and flowers available for the bees to collect their nectaries and pollen grains, other than during the monsoon in case of our countries in South and Southeast Asia, or in during the winter in Western countries where the winters are extremely harsh. Leaving out this fall period when bees are raised mostly on the sugar solution and wild bees mostly undergo hibernation in the wild. But during the summer, during the spring, during the autumn, when crops are undergrowing, when flowers are appearing across various species of plants, then we need to understand and have this cycle going. So establishment of pollinator sanctuary, education, awareness among the people, legislation is very important from the countries, so that we pass in legislation for the farmers to follow a strict guideline that not to cross the threshold limit of the chemicals that they're applying in the field. It is causing soil pollution, it is causing water pollution, it is also causing devastating destruction of the pollinators. So legislation from the parliament, senate, and Congress House of Congresses, and depending on which country we are talking about, these are very important factors that needs to be implemented at the ground level, so that people are following rules and regulations and are not spraying extensively during the pollination period, in which we are killing the pollinators in millions and billions. So all this surveillance and monitoring is necessary. Along with education and awareness, there is necessity for funding for bee conservation, because this establishment of the garden takes money during the initial years. And once these plants are established, because they are a mixture of annual, biennial, and perennial plants, they grow on their own, they drop their seeds, and new plants germinate and create a forest-like environment outside the perimeter of the forest, which helps in the establishment of the pollinator sanctuaries. These are being used and now established in city parks, garden, municipalities, in rural areas, agriculturally non-productive areas, in any kind of garden, backyards, your front lawn, back lawn, roof gardens, verandas, everywhere people are trying to establish. There are concepts of bee restaurants or bee hotels in Western countries, where artificial homes and hives where bees are made and allowed and arranged on the walls for bees to thrive during the summer and the spring, so that their numbers could increase. So with all these efforts, and particularly in the reduction of the harmful toxic chemicals that we are using in agriculture, and unless we reduce the environmental pollution, bees are having a very detrimental future right now. And they are such an important insect. Unless these conservation measures are taken up, it may be too late before you start to take proper initiative to protect the bees. With this, I conclude my presentation. Once again, thanks to Ayush Samriddhi for providing me the platform. Thank you very much. And it has been a pleasure to be a part of your platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sakat. Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Dr. CP Sharma sir. CP Sharma जी हैं क्या? आप दोनों बड़े भाइयों के दर्शन भी हो जाते और कंक्लूडिंग रिमार्क्स भी हो जाते तो बस वेबिनार सफल हो जाती। सीपी शर्मा सर, आवाज जा रही है मेरी? रामवीर शर्मा सर, परेशान तो नहीं कर रहा हूं ना मैं?
हाँ जी भाई।
क्या हो गया?
तो आदरणीय वसु जी को मैंने प्रणाम किया गुरु जी के रूप में, अच्छी जानकारी देते हैं।
हाँ,
जहाँ तक बी की बात है तो उसमें सभी जो भी पंख वाले कीड़े ज्यादातर होते हैं, बीज मक्खियों के रूप में होते हैं। उसमें ज्यादातर हम लोग बात करके रह जाते हैं हनी बी के रूप में। हमारे यहाँ अलग अलग टाइप की चीजें होती हैं। हमने देखा है गांव के अंदर बर्रैया होती है, ततैया होती है, भुंगरे होते हैं, ये भी बीज के अंदर ही आते हैं। पीले कलर की होती है, काटती काटती ऐसे शहद नहीं बनाती। अभी मेरे को गांव में गया था तो काटी थी। और लाल कलर की होती है। आयुर्वेद के अंदर बहुत सारी चीजें बताई गई हैं उनको। तो सबसे पहले हम लोग बात करते हैं शहद वाली मधुमक्खी की। यहाँ तक हम लोगों ने पढ़ा है, इतना ज्यादा जानकारी नहीं है। वैसे जूलॉजी का मैं छात्र रहा हूँ 12th तक। तो इंसेक्ट्स के अंदर ये जो है, इसका जो स्पीसीज है उसमें मुझे लगता है कई जातियां होती, 7 जातियों के अंदर बहुत सारी, मेरे ख्याल से होंगी तो हजारों प्रजातियां होंगी इस बीज के अंदर। जहाँ तक मधुमक्खी की हमारे हिंदुस्तान के अंदर ही देखे मैंने जो देखी है, 3 प्रकार की मैंने ज्यादातर मधुमक्खियां देखी हैं। एक तो होती है जंगल में, जिसको बहुत बड़ी साइज होती है, जो अपने बड़ी बड़ी बिल्डिंग पे लगती है, बड़े बड़े छत्ते लगते हैं, उसको भौरा मऊख बोलते हैं, भौरा मधुमक्खी। भ्रमर मधुमक्खी यानी बड़ी साइज की होती है। इनकी साइज जो एक होती है जो जमीन में बिल बना के रहती है, जमीन में, उसमें भी शहद निकलता है। और एक होती है जो खेतों के अंदर होती है, हमारे खेतों के अंदर बनाते हैं, इनको पालते हैं, वो मध्यम आकार की होती है। इनका आकार अलग अलग होते हैं, बहुत छोटी से लेके बहुत बड़ी तक। मैंने देखा, पढ़ा था, मुझे लगता है शायद 40 mm तक की भी होती हैं। 40 mm 4 सेंटीमीटर तक की मधुमक्खियां कई अमेजन के जंगल में पाई जाती हैं, और 2 mm की भी होती हैं। अब इनका बचाया कैसे जाए, तो निश्चित ही आधुनिक समाज में, अभी शकत बसु जी ने बहुत सारी चीजें बताई। हम लोग जब बच्चे थे तो जब खेत में अपने इंसेक्टिसाइड का प्रयोग करते थे तो केमिकल यूज नहीं करते थे। चने का फसल है, अरहर की फसल है, जिस समय फूल आ रहे होते हैं, चने में कीड़ा लग जाता है, मटर में कीड़ा लग जाता है, तो वहां पर जो कंडे की राख होती थी, खेत घरों में अपने चूल्हे जला करते थे, कंडे की राख जला करती थी, दूध गर्म करते थे, उसकी राख को हम लोग उस पे खेतों में अपने इंसेक्टिसाइड के रूप में डाला करते थे। तब मधुमक्खियों का इतनी ज्यादा हत्या नहीं होती थी। मैं हत्या शब्द यूज इसलिए कर रहा हूँ कि अपने हित के लिए दूसरे प्राणी को मार देना हत्या ही है। जब से इंसेक्टिसाइड शुरू हुआ तो 2 चीजें हुई कि एक तो ये इंसेक्टिसाइड के अंदर, अभी डॉक्टर साहब ने बताया कि जो इंसेक्टिसाइड हम छिड़कते हैं उसकी वजह से, टॉक्सिन की वजह से ये खत्म होती है। जैसे ही अपने जाती फूलों के समय फूलों पे परागण लेती हैं, और पहले परागण करती थी अपने फायदे के ही था, परागण करती है तो यही करती है, इनकी वजह से फसल होती थी। अब और दूसरे इंसेक्ट्स होते हैं, उनको मारने के चक्कर में इनका भी हत्या हो जाती है, जो हार्मफुल होते हैं उनको मारने के चक्कर में। तो जो इंसेक्टिसाइड छिड़कते हैं उनकी वजह से 2 कारण होते हैं। एक तो इनकी प्रजनन क्षमता कम हो जाती है, तो प्रोडक्शन नहीं होता, और दूसरा इनकी डेथ हो जाती है क्योंकि वो टॉक्सिन का काम करते हैं। तीसरा, अभी डॉक्टर साहब ने बताया कि इस तरह के भी कई इंसेक्टिसाइड होते हैं जिनकी नर्वस सिस्टम पे काम करते हैं, उड़ ही नहीं पाते, इनका एक दूसरे के अंदर कम्युनिकेशन नहीं होता, तो कम्युनिकेशन से काम करते हैं। तो ये जो चीजें हैं, तो मोस्टली हमारी इंडस्ट्रीज के अंदर, इंडस्ट्रीज में इतना ज्यादा धुआं होता, हम लोग कभी भी शहद तोड़ते थे, मधुमक्खी का शहद तोड़ते थे तो नीचे धुआं कर देते थे, धुएं से वो उड़ जाती थी, और उड़ने के बाद उनका शहद को तोड़ लेते थे। तो ये इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन हुआ, उसके बाद में जो धुआं निकला, पॉल्यूशन हुआ वातावरण में, उसकी वजह से भी उनका अपने फर्टिलाइजेशन कम हुआ, उनके जो अपने प्रोडक्शन है कम हुआ, और साथ में वो खत्म भी हो रही हैं। अब इनको कैसे बचाया जाए? मुझे लगता है, मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि हम लोगों को जो इंसेक्टिसाइड छिड़कते हैं, तो जब फूल आ रहे होते हैं उससे पहले छिड़क दीजिए। और फूल आने के बाद जब फली बन जाती है, फली में अपने कीड़ा लगता है मोस्टली। जो अपने जो फली होती है, चाहे सरसों की हो, चाहे अपने उसकी अरहर की हो, चाहे अपने मटर की हो, किसी भी चने की हो, जब उसके अंदर फली हो जाती है, लेगुमिन बन जाता है, उसके बाद छिड़क दीजिए। मगर जब फूल के समय छिड़कते हैं, वो बहुत ज्यादा खतरनाक है। तो किसान लोगों से अगर उनके अंदर इंसेक्टिसाइड को छिड़कना है, पेस्टिसाइड को छिड़कना है, तो उस समय अपने को फूल से पहले और फूल के बाद में छिड़केंगे तो मुझे लगता है मधुमक्खियों का जो पोषण होता है वो बच सकती हैं। तो इसको अगर साइकिल को चेंज कर दिया जाए, हम लोगों किसानों को जागरूक करें, कृषि वालों को, तो और ज्यादा। इसको हम पालन भी करते हैं, हमारे यहाँ भरतपुर की साइड में, आगरा की साइड में सरसों की खेती होती है, तो अपने पालन करते हैं। तो सरसों पे जब दवाई नहीं छिड़कते तो उसमें तो पैदावार अच्छी हो जाती है। अदरवाइज सरसों का, जहाँ तक आयुर्वेद की बात है, तो आयुर्वेद के अंदर मधु को सबसे अच्छा व्हीकल माना गया है, अच्छी मेडिसिन मानी गई है। कफ के लिए बहुत अच्छी मेडिसिन मानी गई है, घृतम तेलम तथा मधु। और इसका मधुशिष्ट जो होता है, मधुशिष्ट का मतलब मोम होता है, उसको हीलिंग के अंदर, वुंड हीलिंग के अंदर सबसे अच्छा माना जाता है, इसलिए उसको जात्यरी तेल के अंदर भी इसका प्रयोग किया गया है। तो मधु के बिना तो हमारा हिंदुस्तान की कल्पना ही नहीं की जा सकती। शादी होती है तो मधु पर्क किया जाता है, उसमें भी मधु खिलाया जाता है दोनों पति पत्नी को। तो मधु के बिना तो कल्पना नहीं की जा सकती। मधुमक्खी खत्म हो जाएगी तो हमारी संस्कृति के अंदर बहुत सारा नुकसान होगा। और फलों फलों की और फूलों की जो परागण है वो भी खत्म हो जाएगा। इसलिए एक साइड जब हम इंसेक्टिसाइड छिड़कते हैं, पेस्टिसाइड छिड़कते हैं, तो मधुमक्खियों को मारने के काम भी करते हैं, उससे हमारी फसल को भी नुकसान होगा। तो मुझे लगता है इसके अंदर जागरूकता ये काम है जिससे उनको बचाया जा सकता है। अदरवाइज धीरे धीरे करके जिस तरह से बहुत सारी प्रजातियां खत्म हो रही है, ये भी, हालांकि प्रजातियां इसकी 20,000 से ज्यादा हैं, इतनी जल्दी खत्म नहीं होंगी। मगर ऐसा ही अगर चलता रहा, जंगल खत्म हो गए और कृषि के अंदर ऐसा चलता रहा, धीरे धीरे करके तो स्पीशीज खत्म हो जाएगी। और आयुर्वेद की एक विधा है जो अपने मेडिसिन के अंदर काम करती है, वो धीरे धीरे करके समाप्त हो जाएगी। थैंक यू वेरी मच आप लोगों के लिए जिन्होंने मुझे सुना। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। बहुत शानदार बोलते हैं आप। डॉक्टर सीपी शर्मा जी हैं क्या? जय हो, जय हो,
जी जी सर, जी सर।
जय हो, जय हो। मंच आपका है।
थैंक यू सर। और उस समय सर क्या हुआ, सडनली ऐसे ही एक सज्जन आ गए मिलने।
ओ,
तो उसकी उस वेबिनार में थोड़ा सा मैं अपना म-
कोई बात नहीं सर, कोई बात।
मंतव्य नहीं दे पाया। वो यही था कि जो भी पशुओं के द्वारा और मनुष्यों में उसकी एक साइकिल पशुओं में होती है, उस बैक्टीरिया वायरस की। और दूसरी, तो वो कोई कई बार खतरनाक होती है। तो वो बात तो वहां पर खत्म हुई। अभी चल रही थी बीज के बाद शहद की। जैसा कि भाई रामी ने बताया कि हमारे बेल्ट में सरसों की खेती होती है, परंतु वो जो सरसों की खेती में वो सर, वो हमारे एक गांधी सेवा आश्रम है जोरा में। वो गांधी सेवा आश्रम चंबल हनी के नाम से शहद का वो करता है, कलेक्शन। और वो करता है, तो वो इन लोगों को सभी को जो इस तरह के शहरीय और ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में
आपकी आवाज बंद हो गई सर। आदरणीय शर्मा जी।
शहद इकट्ठा करते हैं, परंतु वस्तुतः जो शुद्ध
कनेक्शन कहीं गड़बड़ है। आप म्यूट हैं, अनम्यूट कर लीजिए।
इंडस्ट्रियल के साथ साथ हमारा जो फॉरेस्ट को हम लोग डिस्टर्ब कर रहे हैं, उसके के परिणाम स्वरूप ये जो उत्पाद है इसका, जो हमारे यहाँ मेडिसिनल वैल्यू रखता है, हमारे यहाँ आहार द्रव्य के रूप में भी इसका बहुत ज्यादा प्रयोग होता है, क्योंकि शहद को एंटीसेप्टिक, एंटीबैक्टीरियल, इम्यूनिटी को बूस्टअप करने के लिए और अनुपान के रूप में विशेष रूप से हमारे यहाँ आयुर्वेद में इसका क्लासिकली एक्सप्लेनेशन मिलता है। शहद, अब आज के उसमें हमें जो शहद, जैसे अभी मैं कहीं एक जगह पढ़ा था, सहारा के द्वारा स्विट्जरलैंड में एंटी डायबिटिक हनी तैयार किया। तो ऐसे ही हम लोग डिसीज वाइज फॉरेस्ट जोन्स को पूरा हर्बल फ्लोरा तैयार करें, और उस हर्बल फ्लोरा में कौन कौन से हमारे डिसीज से संबंधित प्लांट हैं, वो प्लांट का जो हनी होगा उसको चिन्हित कर एक नया प्रयोग किया जा सकता है। या जो नया फॉरेस्ट अपन प्लांटेशन कर रहे हैं, वो प्लांटेशन कुछ पहाड़ियों को चिन्हित है। जैसे हमारे यहाँ पहले एक आकाश त्रिपाठी साहब कलेक्टर आए थे, उन्होंने एक पहाड़ हमारे राणा जी थे उनको दिया था, तो राणा जी ने उसमें 11,000 नीम के पौधे लगाए थे। अब वो हो गए लाखों पौधे हो गए। ऐसे उस पहाड़िया को नीम पहाड़ कहा जाता है। और यहाँ पर हमारा जो अ, एक RRI रेवेन्यू इंस्पेक्टर्स की ट्रेनिंग सेंटर है, जिसमें सभी IAS का भी होता है, डिप्टी कलेक्टरों की ट्रेनिंग होती है, उसको वो लोग उस नीम पहाड़ पर ले जाते हैं।
Every
एक
department announcer.
तो इस तरह के अपन कुछ नए प्रयोग कर सकते हैं। और शहद का उपयोग तो अपन समझते ही हैं सर, आयुर्वेद में बहुत आहार द्रव्य के रूप में भी वर्णित है, अनुपान के रूप में भी है, और एक औषधि है। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ धन्यवाद सर, रामवीर जी, आप और हमारे दोनों वक्ता।
बहुत
इस
बहुत आभार सर आपका, बहुत बहुत आभार। जुड़ते रहिएगा। कल श्रावण का पहला दिन है, आप लोगों को भी दोनों को बोलना है।
जी
हे
जी जी बिल्कुल।
हे शिव प्रिय श्रावण।
मैंने देख लिया है सर, देख लिया।
थैंक यू सर। गुड नाइट। गुड नाइट सकत जी। गुड नाइट रामवीर सर। गुड नाइट।